cinema! Save our cinema!
The day prior to lockdown on March 22nd, 2021, I was shown around the Sutton Empire Cinema, non-public areas, by the manager Gary. This included the abandoned projection room, power converter room, and the vast upstairs cinema. Knowing that lockdown was only one day away, I arranged to return with my camera and lighting equipment when the lockdown was finished. However, the doors have stayed locked. Little did we both know how long it would last and the consequences for Sutton's only cinema. The most popular day was the Wednesday morning seniors matinee. For £3.50 you could see a recently issued film, a cup of coffee and a biscuit. It was most popular and you would see the same faces time after time. My guess is that the audience was around 300 people. The car park was 90% full for the nearly 2 hours of the film, and chatting around the coffee station. Forward to April 2022 and the lockdowns are finished, but the Sutton Empire remains boarded up. When passing the cinema on June 25th, my attention was attracted to an activist demonstration of Save Our Cinema. Fortunately, I had my camera and sound equipment with me and managed to do this recording.
Save our cinema! 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 Save our cinema!
I managed to get an impromptu interview with Mr. Richard Haynes, who seemed to be the leader.
Hi, I'm Richard Haynes. Lived in Sutton for probably about 40 plus years now. The cinema here is really important to me. It's a lovely asset to have in the area, in the town. It's a jewel in the crown of the royal town of Sutton Coldfield. We need to bring it back to its glory. We're representing a group called Focus, which is, choose really whether you want to call us Future of Cinema in Sutton Coldfield or Friends of Cinema in Sutton Coldfield, Focus. And what we'd like to do is help the owners bring it back, you know, into its former glory and bring customers back into the cinema. Because where you've got all these, you know, sort of big box cinemas, this is like a really special venue. It's a 1930s Art Deco building. One of the members of our group is the son of the grandson who lived locally, and the grandson still lives locally, that designed the Art Deco building. There's only one other in the UK like this, which is in Harrogate, so it's a very unique structure. We want to make sure that it's viable as a business and that it continues to remain a valuable asset in the community and used. Thank you.
I did a survey of the cinemas I had known in my childhood and youth. It turned out to be a very sorry state of affairs. This included the Grove Cinema, Windsor Green, that had been a bathroom showroom for at least 40 years. The Cape Hill Cinema, that had been a bingo hall for at least 30 years. Princess Hall Smethwick, now a Sikh temple for around 50 years. The Empire Smethwick, that had been a theatre scenery painting company for at least 50 years. Latterly, another Sikh temple under construction. Formerly the Odin King Standing, now currently a bingo hall. So what is the current state of the Empire? Well, the car park looks likely to be sold off for a reported £1 million, subject to planning permission being granted. The cinema needs £250,000 of refurbishment, including removal of asbestos. Current status is that the planning permission application for the development of the car park looks like this. There is just a couple of vacant slots for patrons of the cinema. Possible best case scenario for the Empire is that the refurbishment takes place and the Empire opens for business. But then, where do the patrons park their cars? Local streets all have double yellow lines except for a zone of around 15 car slots immediately in front of the Empire. There's a pay and display car park in Duke Street, about 6 minutes walk away from the Empire. But it's typically 80% full most days with ordinary parking. This would leave less than 10 vacant spaces. Overstays are given penalty fines, as you can see here. Then what's the worst case scenario for the patrons? Well, it could be this. Somehow, either before, during, after refurbishment, the Empire burns down, even though it's a Grade 2 listed building. Is there an existing example of such an event locally? Yes, there's the Bagot pub on the Chester Road. Here the Bowling Green land was sold off years earlier for housing development. Then the pub was closed, and then the pub burnt down. Is there another example? Yes, there is. The Wild Green pub on Birmingham New Road, although a very successful pub, it was sold off and now under development for housing.
Cinema! Save our cinema!
In earlier years, the Witchbold Hotel, again on the Birmingham Road, was sold off and developed for housing.
Save our cinema! Save our cinema!
So what is the status of the other Empire cinemas in the UK? From a brief survey of Google Maps, there seems to be 16 operating, 5 closed, including Sutton, and 2 others dead. Where do we go from here? Well, who knows? Does streaming replace the communal experience of cinema? Is it evolved out of existence?
Save our cinema! Save our
Breaking news on the 18th of August 2022, Cineworld, the world's second largest cinema with over 900 screens, shares dropped 50% yesterday on news of a dramatic revenue drop and debts of over $7 billion. Update on that. Cineworld has gone into Chapter 11, a protective form of bankruptcy. Well, we're here in front of the Sutton Empire, used to be known as the Odeon. It's the community hub for the seniors of Sutton Coldfield. It formed a focal hub for people who perhaps were lonely, depressed, and had other mental health problems, in that they could commune with other members of Sutton Coldfield. Let's hope that the Empire comes back not just as a zombie, but as a phoenix from the ashes of what it is now. Its biggest problem is that it's sitting on its assets, so to speak. And those assets are the car park, which has been valued in the region of £1 million. Some of this money will be needed for the refurbishment, as it contains a lot of asbestos, apparently, and a big cosmetic overhaul. But as they say, there's nothing wrong with the cinema that a good film can't put right. But is that true in the days of streaming? We will find out eventually.